Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Sade. Thank y'all so much for joining me for our astrology talk. For today, we're diving into what it means to have your Mercury in the sign of Taurus. Now, if you have not seen any of my videos on what the planet Mercury means, what the sign Taurus means, go ahead and check them out on my YouTube channel. I have tons of astrology videos. But for the sake of this video, let's go ahead and dive quickly into what Mercury means by itself, a little bit about Taurus, and what it means when you have the two together. So, Mercury is the planet ruler of communication. It rules the way that we analyze, acknowledge, and understand the world around us, how we process and digest the information that we are receiving from the world around us, and how we communicate and express that truth to other people. The two signs that Mercury rules is Gemini as well as Virgo. So, Mercury being in the sign of Taurus is a little bit comfortable because it is also in a fellow Earth sign. Virgo is also Earth and mutable. Now, a little bit about Taurus. Taurus is fixed, it's feminine, it's ruled by Venus, and Taurus is all about luxury as well as comfort, stability, and really being a solid force of foundation in their life as well as others. So, when you put the planet of communication, the planet of the mind, in a sign stable like Taurus, this really helps with people with this sign placement having a very clear, grounded, and stable mind. And even if these people are taken off track on their journey and the mind becomes a little chaotic, they're always going to lean towards, okay, how can I bring my mind and my thoughts back to a place of stability and back to a place that is supportive and foundational in the way that I want to move in my life? Because Taurus cares a lot about stability as well as harmony in relationships and being of resource for themselves and others. Now, an interesting thing to understand about the sign or the planet Mercury is Mercury will always be in the same sign as your sun sign, or it'll be in the sign before or right after. So, for example, if you have your Mercury in the sign of Taurus, then that means that your sun sign is either going to be in Aries, Taurus, or Gemini. And that's just a little trick. So if you're meeting someone that has their sun in the sign of Aries, then you can kind of guess that their Mercury is either going to be in Pisces, Aries, or Taurus. So this is a really great placement for people who might have a little bit more fire or air in their chart, because it does bring stability to the way that they think, and most importantly, the way that they communicate with others. People that have their Mercury in the sign of Taurus are very calm speakers. And what I mean by calm is, because Taurus is a fixed sign and Mercury deals with processing, it takes these folks some time to process the information that they're given. So they're not going to be quick to speak about what's going on inside, because they have to figure out, okay, what is actually going on in my mind? How am I feeling about this? And how can I communicate this in a practical way that will be of benefit for others? Because Taurus is Venus, Venus does not care about arguing, which is the opposite. If you saw my Mercury video in Aries, it's the opposite of Mercury in Aries, right? Venus doesn't care about arguing. Venus wants to get along. It wants to be of service and of use for other people so that people can feel harmonious in relation with them. So people who have their Mercury in the sign of Taurus, they're going to think long and hard about the words that they use so that they are aware of how it is landing for others. Which also goes to say, if you are in an argument with these folks or in a debate, these are people who are going to speak with authority because they are fixed in nature. Taurus knows what they know, and because they care so much about their own values and their beliefs, whatever they know to be true for themselves, they're going to speak on it as fact and as truth, which is going to have them come across as an authoritative figure when they do speak. So don't think that because these folks are remaining silent, that nothing is going on inside. No, they're observing everything, they're processing everything inside, and they're waiting for the right moment to say the right words that actually mean something of value for them, which is such a beautiful and important skill to have. Now, these folks are very patient. They're patient with others, and they're patient with communicating with others, which can be a little frustrating if you are someone that maybe has your Mercury in, let's say, the sign of Aries, or your Mercury even in the sign of Gemini, where you might be a quick thinker and quick on your feet. These folks, they may go a few days, a few hours, or even a few months before they are going to come through and come forward about what is going on internally. Taurus does not really like to showcase emotions as much. So, especially if you have your Mercury in the sign of Taurus as well as your Sun in the sign of Taurus, it is going to take you some time to really communicate the deeper aspects of what's going on inside rather than what's happening in the mind. Because Taurus is Venus ruled and Venus cares a lot about resources as well as living a comfortable, luxurious life. These are folks who are constantly thinking about ways to make their life easier. So, how can I make more money, which is definitely going to be something a Mercury Taurus person will be thinking about? How can I get a little bit more stable in my finances or my home life? And of course, their family and their loved ones. How can I be of more use for them? How can I help to make our relationship better? Am I assisting them or am I showing up as valuable? Taurus wants to make sure that they are seen as a person of value because they're Venus and they care about the value that others bring to them and the value that they bring to others. Mercury also rules our skills and our hobbies as well as our interests. And because Taurus is ruled by Venus, these are folks who I would not be surprised if they're singers, if they're poets. This is a really great placement for people who write poetry. And the reason I say this is because it might take them some time to speak about what is going on inside. But these are folks who understand what's going on internally and might do a better way at maybe writing songs or writing a poem or just writing things down as a way to communicate and express what's going on inside of the mind. These are people who enjoy the arts. They want to learn more about museums. They want to learn more about different ways to artistically express themselves, fashion, aesthetic, money making, like I said before, making money through their different hobbies because Mercury rules your different interests and Venus is about money. These are folks who can also appear shyer than they actually are. Again, it's because they're taking some time to process what's going on. They prefer to observe, kind of be a little passive and in the back, especially if your sun is also in the sign of Taurus. Now, if your sun is in the sign of Aries or the sign of Gemini and you have your Mercury in Taurus, this is actually really, really great because it's bringing some stability to your mind as you have these energies like Aries and Gemini that is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very anxious, needing to constantly be in movement, constantly do something. This is going to bring some stability to the mind if you have your Mercury in the sign of Taurus matching with the sun in Aries or the sun in Gemini. Good, beautiful aspect about this placement is the fact that because Taurus is very laid back, very patient, these folks can really say what it is that they're thinking with the smoothest, most compassionate voice, even though it might be something that might not be what a conversation you want to get into, but these folks are going to really take their time to see how can I say what I need to say in the most practical way, the most compassionate way and loving way, but yet it still be what it is. So it goes back to what I said about that authoritative. It's like I'm not going to hold back what I have to say, but I am going to make sure that I can say it in a way that is not going to hurt or not going to jeopardize our relationship because Taurus cares about how they are in relation to people with their Venus placement. Now, something to consider with your Mercury in the sign of Taurus is because Taurus is fixed, these folks have a hard time learning new things that might be outside of their comfort zone. So they're of course going to be interested in the arts and of finances because that's what they value. But for Taurus folks, if it's outside of what they value, they don't really care. They don't really care about learning about it, and they don't really see the point in learning about it, which can be a little challenging if you're a person that has maybe your Mercury in Gemini or your Mercury in Virgo, right? Signs that are mutable that like to learn, or Mercury in Sagittarius. So these are folks that have to work a little bit more on opening up their mind and not only thinking that they always know the best way. It might be the best way for themselves in a particular moment, but the thing about Mercury is it's the fastest moving planet. So it's constantly changing, constantly moving. And sometimes Taurus energy has to also kind of get with the program a little bit and also change and shift in ways that are of their new values and belief systems, because as we grow, our values change and our priorities change. So our perspective and our mind has to shift as well. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me for our Mercury in Taurus video. Let me know if you have your Mercury in Taurus. If this resonates, feel free to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you for our next video. Bye, y'all.